Today we're ranking our top 40 wide receivers for the 2025 fantasy football season. We're going to be breaking these wide receivers off in tiers, talking about their advanced metrics, how they fit in, and how I'm drafting them among the other players. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're ranking the running backs. We're helping you set your lineups. We're looking at training camp highlights to help you find that edge in your leagues of those rookies who are climbing the depth chart. It's all right here. Click that button. Stop missing out. As you see here, I got the tier list. The wide receivers are pixelated. You can guess on some of them, but not all of them. We're going to go one by one. And starting with our first player in S tier, the stud tier, the top tier, Justin Jefferson. No surprise there. He's been elite for a long time. He's been steady Eddie. You're getting consistency and upside with 18.7 points per game last year, 9.1 targets per game, 14 targets on the high end, 2 games with 13, 1 with 11. And the question is, can he rock with J.J. McCarthy, which he's rocked with every other quarterback? But on top of that, we're dropping Ja'Marr Chase on you in the S tier. I like both wide receivers. Ja'Marr Chase, top-end producer. He's steady. 23.7 points per game. Upside for days. 2 40-point weeks, 1 50-point week, and some 20-pointers in there. 10.3 targets per game. Getting volume in this offense with Joe Burrow. He's getting a lot of routes. He's getting a lot of opportunity. Almost 100% route participation rate. 41.1 routes per game. Second in the NFL. But when I'm looking at these wide receivers in the S tier, pick your poison because they're studs. Underdog Fantasy has Ja'Marr Chase, wide receiver 1. It doesn't even matter to me. I'm happy to get either wide receiver. But when we come back down here to A tier, we got some wide receivers we're looking at. First off, CeeDee Lamb. He's a dog. Dak's looking healthy. They're good to go. The Dallas Cowboys got a stud with CeeDee Lamb, averaging 17.7 points per game. Multiple wide receiver 1 weeks. Multiple wide receiver 2 weeks. But we're rarely flatlining out. 2 games of under 10 fantasy points. I understand 10's not going to win your week. Enough to feel okay. 10.1 targets per game. The volume is there. Then also the ADOT, 7.8. But the volume's there with a 27.3% target share. And the air yards per game almost at 80. And then Malik Nabers. He was getting so much work last year that he has to continue to get that. There's nobody else really on that team that is competing with him for targets when it comes to talent. Russell Wilson's there. He can push it downfield. Getting a ton of volume in this offense. 11.3 targets per game. Running a lot of routes. Getting a lot of opportunity. But averaging 18.2 fantasy points per game. Very few down weeks. 36 points was his high. His low is 8. And he was below 10 on 1 week last year. 5 wide receiver 1 weeks. And his wide receiver 3 weeks ain't really that bad. He's hitting good in double digits. Running a lot of routes. Like I said, 97.5% route participation rate. Elite target share, leading the NFL with a 34.9% target share. Very solid. And then you're looking at Puka Nacua. And he's just been a stud. He's been getting opportunity in the Rams offense. This offense ain't going nowhere. Started the season banged up. Finished the year averaging 18.8 PPR fantasy points. Averaging 9.6 targets per game. The volume's there. He's been going wire to wire since his rookie season. Looking at what he did, target share wise, almost 30%, which is elite. 4th in the NFL. Yards per route ran, he's number 1 among wide receivers. Fantasy points per target, 1.95. Targets, 9.6 targets per game. 30th among wide receivers. The volume's just going to be there in this offense. Then you're looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown. St. Brown's another stud wide receiver who's locked in for another good year. And he's only going to be bad until Father Time says so, and that's a few years from now. Only 2 down weeks last year, averaging 18.7 points per game, multiple wide receiver 1 weeks, looking good with 8.4 targets per game, with 4 games in double digits. Looking at the routes ran here, 90% route participation rate, 27.3% target share, which is elite among wide receivers, getting a lot of targets, a lot of work. Nico Collins, deep shots downfield. CJ Stroud, Houston Texans offense is rebuilding. They got a lot more depth this year. Nico Collins is going to be healthy. It looks like he's going to be good to go. He got banged up last year, but averaged 17.6 points per game while averaging 8.3 targets a game. His ADOT solid. 10.9, getting targets deep downfield with a good target share, about 25%. Elite numbers. You should see him get good volume. A.J. Brown, the veteran wide receiver, who's a stud wide receiver. A wide receiver that goes under the radar among the stud wide receivers. A good rate here of wide receiver 1 week. Barely giving you any dud weeks with 2 games last year of under 10 PPR fantasy points. 16.7 points per game. 7.5 targets per game. An elite target share, second in the NFL among pass catchers. 34.4%. ADOT of 12. So a target share that's elite and ADOT that's elite. You got to chase that wide receiver. This is a tier that looks like it is an extension from tier A, honestly. These are all stud wideouts, wide receivers who are going to be getting opportunities in their offense that produce at a high level to get high-end target shares. And then when you look at tier B here, we got some good guys like Drake London. He's going to be a main target getter in his offense, targets downfield, has good opportunity. He's competing with the wide receivers in the tier ahead of him when it comes to points per game. Also, targets are racking up game in and game out. Target share's pushing 30%. ADOT's up there. He's looking solid when it comes to work rate. McConkey does too. He was pumping it up last year in the back end of the season. Had a good ramp up. Cooked up from week 11 to week 18. You saw the volume increase. You saw the fantasy points increase. That should come to surface this year. As you're seeing the yards per route ran, 7th among wide receivers. The target accuracy is also looking good. So Justin Herbert's cooking to him. And you're getting a good target share, pushing 25%, which should increase this year considering. And then Brian Thomas Jr. has upside to burn. Good yards after the catch, has speed, very electric. He cooked all season long, had a good rookie season, 16.7 points per game, averaging 7.8 targets per game. Got good volume in the back end of the season from weeks 13 to 18, double digits in all those games. You're looking at the target share, 25.5%, 8 out of 11.6. He's got speed to burn. He's going to get it deep downfield. He's going to always have a good target share. Not really worried about Travis Hunter because the air yards are going to be there. The targets are going to be there. Rashee Rice, I look for him to turn it up. I look for him to turn it up this year with the Chiefs. From 2023 to 2024, he has just been solid. The back end of his rookie season, he was ramping up. Year 2 he was, then he got hurt. 6.6 targets per game. And he's looking healthy right now. A 25.7% target share and one of the best offenses in football. Now we're looking at Tee Higgins. Tee Higgins was injured last year, but came on strong in moments. Could be a surprise get for you in fantasy for a full season of 18.7 points per game. Had 4 wide receiver 1 weeks during this turmoil. He's ramping up with production. If he can stay healthy on the field, he'll have a good season. Targets are up there. 9.2 targets a game. Multiple games and double-digit targets. Target share pushing 25%, running almost a 90% route participation rate with 36.7 routes per game. He's getting a lot of work. He's getting a lot of opportunity. DeVonte Adams with the Rams. Upgrading quarterback, upgrading offense. He's lower than this in rankings for Underdog Fantasy. I'm just higher on him than the consensus, if that's per ADP. 17.2 points per game with the Jets. 10 targets a game. The volume's there. He's creating separation. Target rate versus man, 8th in the NFL. Win rate versus man, 26th. He's still cooking. He's still getting it done. That's enough below there to let you know, hey, DeVonte Adams going to the Rams, getting a good target share there, getting good volume. Target share around 30% at his age. That's solid. That being said, when I look at tier B, if you're looking for a wide receiver 1 after pounding running back, you're looking at tier B. You're looking at tier B. I don't really have one of those guys really ahead of the other. They're all competitive. I like Rashee Rice a lot this year. I would not be surprised if he's a big riser in the rankings for me. DeVonte Adams is very strong. I think Tee Higgins is a little bit volatile. I think a lot of people are scared of him, but that's a player to look at. I think Drake London and Michael Penix is going to be fun to watch to see whether or not they're going to hit those markers. But when you come down here to the next tier, tier C, things get interesting because you got Tyreek Hill. Are we going to bounce back? That is the question. Last season was kind of a wash. 12.8 points per game. A lot of down games. He was getting by, but not per the draft capital you spent on him last year. So hopefully everything gets right with Tua and the offense. We're still cooking a little bit. We saw some highlights from some workouts. He's fast. He's still fast. Ain't going away. He's tough to cover. Target rate versus man, 9th among wide receiver. Total routes, 1. 14th among wide receivers. We're still getting it done. We're still good. We also had that wrist and hand injury last year. Just a bad season for his standards Probably going to cook back up this year, and he's cheaper. Garrett Wilson. How are we going to look like with Justin Fields in this offense? Are we going to rack up the targets? Is it going to be like last year? It might look a lot like the same where we're having a few boom weeks, but looking okay, but still not good enough to make you happy. 9 targets a game, 15.1 points per game, but only 3 wide receiver 1 weeks and only 4 wide receiver 2 weeks. Some down games mixed in there, but you're looking at this. He's getting a good target share. He should still get a good target share. He should be out there almost 100% of the time. Marvin Harrison Jr. Some of these numbers look good, but can we take a step further? Can Kyler Murray cook? 11.7 points per game last year in PPR, 2 wide receiver 1 weeks. It was a down season for him considering how high everybody was drafting him. 6.8 targets a game. However, for a rookie, it wasn't a bad year. It wasn't a bad year. Catchable target rate, 64th among wide receivers. Win rate versus man, 3rd among wide receivers. If Kyler Murray can get right, Marvin Harrison might cook because the numbers are looking good because we're getting a good target share and we're getting a good ADOT. Marv is a gamble due to Kyler Murray, but not due to Marv. Terry McLaurin, are we going to continue the pace? Are we going to heat it up this year? Or are we going to stay the same? 15.9 points per game, a lot of wide receiver 2 weeks, a lot of wide receiver 1 weeks, had a slow start, and a lot of people were iffy on him in this offense the first couple weeks of the season, then all of a sudden blast off. If we can continue with that, could have another big season here with almost 7 targets a game, a good target share, a good ADOT. Those two mix well. Those two should say, hey, we should be getting some money. DJ Moore, new offense, new offensive line. Caleb Williams' 2nd season. Are we on line for a big season? Stepping up in a new offense, new coaching staff, new offensive line. Quarterback in year 2, 14.1 points per game. Can get it with any quarterback he plays with. 8.2 targets. Should be getting a lot of targets per game this year too. 100% route participation rate. Leading all wide receivers. He doesn't lead the field. Different coaching staff, that might change, but they're not going to want him to leave the field. He is the dude, winning on a lot of those routes too. Running on 100% of the routes, winning 223 of those routes, 7th among wide receivers. This guy can cook. This guy can still get it done. Mike Evans, deep threat downfield. Is Father Time going to look us in the face, spit at us, or are we going to keep it trucking? Multiple wide receiver 1 weeks. He's boom bust, kind of, sort of, not really. Injuries played in there last year, but still getting it done. A little bit of a gamble, but still a little bit of a discount due to that. Will Father Time step in? That is the only question because we're getting deep targets. We're getting red zone targets. We're getting almost a 25% target share. Volume still there. We're still looking good on the field. And then Xavier Worthy. 2nd-year wide receiver, tons of upside. Can we step up in year 2? That is the question because we finished the year hot. We got speed to burn, and this offense can burn. 5.7 targets a game, but our last 3 games, weeks 15, 16, 17, 11, 11, and 9, when it comes to targets. Volume's there. Yards after the catch, 16th among wide receivers. Red zone targets. Getting that speed out there when you need it. 10th among wide receivers. There's some upside here, guys. This tier's dangerous. This tier could go either way with a lot of these players, but you're looking at good wide receiver 2s for your fantasy team. If I'm looking at a lot of these guys for wide receiver 1s, I'm kind of scared. But for upside plays, that's money. That's money. But I want to make sure I'm good at wide receiver before I get to this range, but I also want to be good at running back. So make sure you pound both positions early because it gets kind of scarce on the top end on both positions. As you probably already know, going down here to tier D. We're starting off here with Jaxon, Smith-Njigba. Is the volumes going to be good in the offense? Is he going to be able to keep up the pace? Jaxon Smith-Njigba cooked last year. They added Cooper Kupp. They lost DK Metcalf and Lockett. He might get more targets. He might be around the same. He had a good year, but it wasn't over the top two. Some down weeks in there. New quarterback play. Everything's looking ambiguous here with the Seattle Seahawks. He wins on a lot of routes. Very good technical route runner. Could be a sneaky play. The extra volume might lend him to jump up a little bit in scoring. But again, the volatility at quarterback might hurt him. DK Metcalf. I look for him to get a good target share. I look for him to be rocking it good with Aaron Rodgers. But I think the pace of play for the Steelers is going to be interesting. If I look for him to get spam targets with Aaron Rodgers, that's probably going to happen. I look for him to get easy at 25% target share, if not pushing 30. And they're going to be deeper targets downfield because he stretches it downfield. That's his game. And the target's going to align with that. But last year, 7.3 targets a game, 13 points per game. Started the season off hot. Got a little bit cooler in the back end. but we're looking at the 8 out 13.7. They know that. They were looking at that when they picked him up. Number 1 in deep targets, should be somewhere around that range this year. DeVonte Smith, he's steady. He's steady. He's consistent. When he's on the field, he's scoring you double digits. He's a safe play. He's always at a good value. I wouldn't want him as my wide receiver 1, but I would love him as my wide receiver 2. 15.3 points per game last year. A good target share. That's about elite. 28.6%, 7th among wide receivers. They push the ball to their studs. DeVonte Smith is one of those. He's a good wide receiver at a good value. Jamison Williams, he's not consistent, but he gives you that upside each week that if you cash in, you're winning your week. And he might be even more consistent this year as he's getting better. We just keep hearing reports from the coaches that he's only getting better. It came true when it came to scoring and what we saw on the field. We heard that last offseason. So what if we ramp up some more? This could be more than 13.7 points per game or more upside games. And we're looking at a guy that might push for more target share. Maybe pushing to 20%. A-Dot could definitely jump up there because this guy's got 4.3 speed and a nasty route runner. They could have some games where they're really pushing him downfield. Courtland Sutton, consistent, safe, has upside. Probably needs to be ranked pretty high. Once Bo Nix got rolling, he got even more consistent. He's racking up targets. He's racking up opportunity. And his A-Dot 13.2, that's his game. Getting the targets downfield. He's always up there in air yards every year among the top wide receivers. Courtland Sutton's a cheap, safe play. George Pickens. Look for him to get a good target share and a good A-Dot. Dak Prescott's back healthy. I bet you he rocks around a 20% target share. I bet you he does all right in scoring. I bet you he's volatile, though. I bet you get some down games, but I bet you cash in on some upside. I bet the chart's rather similar in scoring to this, but maybe pushing around 12 to 13 points per game. As he's with a new team, Dak's looking healthy. He's going to be getting workload. He's going to be getting deep targets. That A-Dot's going to be up there. And they're going to let CeeDee Lamb cook the short to intermediate. Jaylen Waddle, another interesting player that could turn things around. Could have a bounce back this year. 4.3 speed, deceptive route runner. Down season last year, a lot of red there with wide receiver 3+ weeks. But look at the injuries. Tua was hurt. He was banged up. Might be a comeback wide receiver. In Tier D, when it comes to looking at wide receivers, it's letting you know this position group is deep and that you can mix and match wide receivers and running backs throughout your draft. And you can moneyball some good lineups here. But also there's some gambles with some of these wide receivers. Some of them are in new situations, new quarterbacks, whatever else. But we come down here to Tier E. Things are still rather interesting. Now we got some choices to make. T-Mac for the Panthers. Rookie ramp up. Are we going to hit on the back end? This is my favorite rookie wide receiver. I think T-Mac's going to have a period of this season where he starts to ramp it up. Could be the last 3 games, last 6 games, last 10 games. It's going to happen. He's going to command air yards. He's going to get opportunity. There's not much competition. It's kind of ambiguous on this depth chart. I see a guy like this playing well in Carolina. Same thing for Travis Hunter. Remember, we got Brian Thomas Jr. there. There's a lot of upside with him. The stud wide receiver, first wide receiver off the board, 102 in the draft. And he's going to be competing for targets with Brian Thomas Jr., but he's playing both sides of the ball. I look for him to get opportunity because when you look at this offense, how are you not going to get opportunity? You're better than Parker Washington. Donnie Brown could be a sneaky play if you're playing DFS, but Travis Hunter should be getting on the field a lot this year. Our wide receiver should be running a good route participation rate, should be somewhere around 70 to 80%. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be the wide receiver 1. Then we're looking at Rome Odunze. Had a decent rookie season last year. Can we build off that? New offense, new offensive line, new coaching staff. How's that going to look? Did not have a bad rookie season last year. Had some moments, had some games where he saw double-digit targets. Wish he could have done more with that. But his catchable target rate was 98th among wide receivers, 100th in target accuracy. So if that ramps up, along with an A-Dot of 13.8, you're looking at a wide receiver that could just explode on top of adding talent to the offensive line, allowing Caleb Williams more time to dissect defenses. Jerry Jeudy, we got the quarterback battle there. Is that going to impact his results this year? Might go off this season if everything goes well at the quarterback position. He played with back quarterbacks last year and ramped up from weeks 11 to 17. That could happen, but you're looking at Shadur Sanders and Joe Flacco. It's a gamble, but he's also a cheap gamble, and he could sneak away with a run of games where he's scoring. Jordan Addison, playing wide receiver 2 for the Vikings. Can J.J. McCarthy push him forward? Could also have a run of games where he's scoring pretty well because This is going to be a high-volume offense. There's going to be games where teams are going to try and lock up Justin Jefferson and force McCaffrey to go the other way. He's the other way, 14.2 points per game, but the upside weeks are there. He can get you 40 points in any game. He'll have a couple games where he's a wide receiver 1 and some wide receiver 2 weeks. It could be volatile and up and down, but he's getting it there. 21% target share and a good ADOT. This is a guy that could help you any single week. Great for DFS. Great as your wide receiver 3. Now we're looking at Jakobi Meyers. He's steady. Banged up a little bit last year, but he runs a lot of routes, gets a lot of opportunity. Jakobi Meyers is a sneaky play this season. You're looking at the points per game. We have some injuries baked in there. 8.6 targets per game. You look at the depth chart. How's he not going to get all the targets? Ran on 94.5% of the routes, almost 40 routes per game. He just gets a lot of work, and with the work should come opportunity to score fantasy points. A lot of opportunity in Tier E. That's for sure. Tier E could be a moneymaker for you, as all these guys are a little bit cheaper down the board. They're kind of in that running back dead zone era, and you can be able to pick apart some wide receivers that could be able to help you out. But you also don't want to forget about the running back dead zone, because there's some good value there this year. Tier F, very interesting still, Zay Flowers. Volatile last year, had some injuries, but with the Ravens, he could be up and down. A lot of volume goes to the running backs, a lot of volume goes to the tight ends. So you're going to see some volatile play, but you will see some upside out of him with 12.3 points per game and 3 wide receiver 1 weeks. Also, injuries were at play. Still kind of outplay. You're watching him in training camp. 10.4 ADOT, though, which presents upside to his name. Deebo Samuel, are you in or are you out? Because he has not been hitting as of late due to injuries. New team, good volume here with the Commanders. He could be sneaky, as a lot of people are down on him, but he hasn't been rocking solid for a while, but he's getting cheaper by the day. Looking at the injuries, though, you could see why, and those injuries could bounce back here in 2025. Calvin Ridley, we got that rookie quarterback. Are we going to be able to push it to him? Can get targets deep downfield. Upside City with Cam Ward there at quarterback. Runs a lot of routes, gets a lot of opportunity in this offense. Gets a lot of targets deep downfield. As you see it with the target share of 23.7% and an 8 out of 15.7, could be a sneaky play. Probably best for best ball and DFS. This offense is too ambiguous, and it could be a huge gamble for you to swing at. Ricky Pearsall, upside play. Upside play. Could be a money play, though. It's a gamble considering what's on the board. It was a gamble, but 8.5 points per game. A huge finish to his rookie season. He got shot, so he missed a lot of his rookie season as well. But we're looking at the depth chart here. There's not much competition. Brandon Ayuk likely to start off on the pup, and he's a twitched up wide receiver who gets better. I would not be surprised if it's the end of the season and he's looking good. Chris Olave, it's the gamble at the quarterback position because he's back looking healthy. The old veteran here who missed a lot last season due to concussions, 9.8 points per game, can really score a lot for you on any given week. However, the concussions were there, and it's rough at quarterback for the Saints. That could impact him. The volume may not be there, and he may not have a good catchable target. And then Juwan Jennings looked good last year, but digging into numbers, there's some stuff to notice that could be sneaky this year. He was sneaky last year. 14 points per game. However, we had some big performances and a lot of down performances mixed into there. 7.6 targets per game, and you're looking at the routes ran. He ran a lot of routes with a 78.2 route participation rate, almost a 27% target share. That's something to look at. I look for him to get a lot of targets racked up in this offense. He's the safe play. Ricky Pearsall is the gamble play if you're looking at it in those ways. Looking at the board right now, you really want to be stacked up at wide receiver early. You want to look good at wide receiver and running back before you get to the middle rounds. Both positions. If not, it's going to dry up and get a little volatile where you're going to have to make some gambles at key positions for your lineups. You want to make sure you're good at wide receiver. After that, you can start taking some gambles on some upside. But running back is the position that's very deep that you need to strategize around and then fill in with wide receiver, then take the values at tight end and quarterback. That's really the macro strategy. You really need to look at the running back position and see if you want to anchor up heavy at the start. Go here, RB, get one, and just get running backs on the back end. It's like those RB2s, those backup running backs, whatever you want to do, whatever you're strategizing. Or if you want to go wide receiver early, tier S, tier A, maybe even tier B, and make sure you're heavy there and get back end running backs. But there's a lot to look at here in your drafts this year. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.